Okay, so we are back with the Sapphire cards from Archazia's Island, and I'm ranking these on a tier list. This is my predictions for where I think things are going to fall. Let's go ahead and go over really fast, just a super brief overview. D is it's going to see essentially no competitive play. C is it might see some competitive play in the fringe. Maybe you'll see in a flex spot. B is that it's a good card. You'll probably see this somewhat regularly. A is going to be cards that are definitely going to be slotted into established decks. Maybe they will be critical or create their own new archetypes. And they're very good cards. You're going to see multiple copies. These might be 4-ofs. These might be 2-ofs, whatever. But they're very good cards. And then S tier is just only reserved for the cards that are going to change the game. The way that we are building the decks, the way that we're building decks to beat those decks. Yeah, so S tier, very strong. So we're doing Sapphire today. And it's no secret that Ravensburger juiced Sapphire hard again. Okay? Again. So we have some cards to talk about. So we're doing just the Sapphire cards today. And we'll go ahead and start here with Clarabelle. So we have 4-cost Inkable, 3/3 with support, quest for 2, and your other characters with support get +1 strength. I don't think that support is really all of that relevant, but I do like this Clarabelle in this 4-cost slot. It is a little awkward sometimes. I think in your Baja Blasts, this curves really nicely into 7-cost Clarabelle in theory. However, yeah, I mean, your 1-cost Clarabelle has better utility. And I know that, you can always just hold your 1-cost Clarabelle and play it later, especially so you can squeeze that utility out. And I think that's going to be very important in this meta. I think 1-cost Clarabelle stonks are going to go up. But this is still a really nice option. I think this card is decent. And if support ever becomes good, she'll be fine. Excuse me. All right. Wow, right away. Do a legendary. Scrooge McDuck. 4-cost Inkable, 4/4. You may exert 4 items of yours to play this character for free. And when you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card, put it into your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. So it has Scuttle's ability and a quest for 1. This card is very good. This card is very good. There is going to be enough board states where you're going to have this scenario where you be prepared, you have 4 items on board, you exert them, you play Scrooge McDuck. You're all exerted out, but you still get to play a character to follow up. So you're not stuck with nothing. That is really strong. Just in that one scenario, to give you a 4/4 body is really good. The fact that he also goes looking for your items is really nice, and he combos with Tamatoa really well. Yeah, this card is very good. This is going to see play for sure. This is going to see plenty of play. So let's go ahead and put him right up into A tier. He is great. Next we have Matthias or Matthias. I'm not really sure how you say this guy's name. So this is a 2-cost Inkable, 3/2, quest for 1, and your queen characters gain ward. Okay. I guess it's fine. Stats are okay. I just can't really see this card seeing play. Moving on. We have Moana. 3-cost Inkable, 1/6, do nothing but a quest for 1. 1/6, that's a very heavy amount of willpower. It's going to take some effort to overcome it with challenging, with steel. Red doesn't care, as it never does against these low strength characters. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. Red-blue is probably going to be incredibly dominant in the first portion of this metagame, maybe the entire portion of the Archazia's Island metagame. And red blue loves low strength characters to play against because it deals with them the best without having to jump through any kind of hoops. No ice blocking, no nothing. Just carte blanche gets to wipe it off the board. So I don't think this card is going to see any play. I think that it's I love the art, and I think that the 6 willpower is really interesting. It would be cool if it had bodyguard. Maybe it would be too strong, especially when you compare it to something like the Prince that's an uninkable 2 cost. But I don't know that would have been a stretch to give this bodyguard. Just hitting for 1. But yeah, it's just not a card I think is going to see play. We're moving on to Monsieur the Arc. And I think this is a guy that helps out with Gaston in Beauty and the Beast and kind of sets that whole thing up. But anyways, he's a 1 cost inkable 1/2 quest for 1, and whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item of yours to draw a card. So this is like a really fair and balanced version of Hiram Flaversham. He doesn't get his effect to pop off when he enters, and I think that really holds this card back. I get he's only a common, and he's also kind of, jockeying for position with his cost, his 1 cost. You're playing your popsicle or you're playing this guy first. I don't know. This card is definitely not bad. I wonder where he finds his place. I'm gonna put this into C tier. I think it's very, very high C tier. I just don't know where he finds his spot. But I do like that they have this fixed Flaversham, and he looks great, I guess. His art's cool. He looks very, very conniving, and he's been doing this for a very long time. Yeah, but anyways, we're moving on. Let's go ahead and go to gosh, how do you say this guy's name? Gaetan Moliere, perhaps? Moliere? 3 cost inkable, 3/4 quest for 1. So he's vanilla. Can challenge in, can survive some stuff, but he's not going to see any play. All right, moving on. We already know that this card is not going to see any play at all. It's a 3 cost, inkable, 3/3, quest for 1, and during your turn, you may banish chosen item of yours to play this character for free. I'm being sarcastic. This is arguably the best card in the set. This card's stupid. I really, really question why this card was designed this way. This card is going to single-handedly make blue-steel insane. Blue-red is definitely going to try this card. I do not know that it stays in blue-red, but it's going to try this. This is the exact tool that they needed that the blue decks needed in order to combat aggro. And that is, I'm just going to say it, I don't think that's a good thing. Generally in your game design, you're kind of wanting a rock, paper, scissors, right? So your aggro should generally beat control. Control should beat mid-range, and mid-range should beat aggro. And if your control is able to more reliably beat the aggro, then it dominates both the mid-range and the aggro. That doesn't seem super good. This also doesn't help that it has in blue-red at least, has a pretty good shift target, or a Floodborn that shifts over it. And yeah, this card is just going to be a menace, especially in blue steel. This is literally your Cinderella for blue steel. This thing's going to come down. It's going to sing your Storm Rage on. It's going to sing your Strength of a Raging Fire. It's going to be able to challenge in. It's going to be able to do a whole lot of stuff. And yeah, it's robbing you of an item in order to get this card down, and so you're losing the item for Flaversham to quest and draw you some cards. But again, if you're playing this in your Ruby Sapphire deck, and I do think it's probably stronger in blue steel, but if you are playing in your Ruby Sapphire deck, this thing banishing an item and feeding the shift bell is not a downside. This is my opinion. This card is really, really strong. And people will 100% build their decks around knowing that the turn 1 bell coming down is going to be very similar to Turn 1, Diablo. Let me see your hand. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and shift Diablo. Diablo is not as oppressive as a card as it used to be, but in those Bucky days, that card was insane. If you got that combo off, and now understand this, is this card as good as Diablo? No, not in my opinion. But Diablo required, in order for it to be, in order for it to work just right, you needed the one cost shift, the one cost Diablo, you needed a song or some sort of action, and you needed 3 cards to make this whole thing work. And you needed to, discard a card. You had to discard one of those cards, so you were going down. This needs 2 cards, an item on one, so Fortisphere or Popsicle, and then this just comes down. It's also inkable, so if you're playing in a matchup or it comes in late where you don't need it, just ink it. This card is bonkers. And Diablo was uninkable for a reason, and this is a common card. Okay? This is common. This ability is really, really strong. In card games, when you play around with free, the concept of playing things for free, you can oftentimes put yourself into a bad position. This feels like a card that is on the precipice of being in that bad position. I don't love this card. Will I be playing with this card? I'm going to definitely try it out and see where its best home is. And, I always play what I feel personally the most comfortable with, and I also feel is strong. So, last set I didn't play Red Blue, I played Diggy Diggy Hole. I guess the last set being Azurite Sea. I played Diggy Diggy Hole. I liked my matchup into Blue Red. I think that my matchup into Blue Red with Diggy Diggy Hole would be a lot worse with this new world that we're entering. Cinderella on 1 was never what you wanted to be doing against Red Blue and Diggy Diggy Hole. You wanted to be on, Daisy Duck if you could. Then you wanted to be on Cinderella and pretty much into everything else. And with Belle, Daisy Duck still doesn't just fall over, and that's a great thing. But she's one of the very few cards that doesn't just kill over to Belle, challenging into them, or singing a song. This card is this is gonna be a real problem for aggro decks, I feel. And it's gonna make blue steel very, very strong. But we're not gonna sit here and talk about this card forever. We're gonna move on. Let's move on to Lucky. It's a 3 cost, uninkable, 1/3. It's a puppy, quest for 2. Whenever this character quests, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of puppy character cards and put them in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. I like this card. I think this card's super cute. I think that in the puppy deck, it's fine. It quests for 2. It's a 1/3. I like the card personally. I think that the art's adorable, and we'll put it here. I think Puppies has a chance to be somewhat real. I don't know that it's going to be competitive. The art alone is, doing a lot of lifting on this thing, but I think that the card's fine. I think if you're, able to grab 2 puppy characters out the top of your deck, that's drawing 2 cards. So pay 3, get a 1/3, quest for 2, draw 2 cards. That's really strong. We'll put it there. Let's move on to Dawson. He's a 1 cost, uninkable, 1/2, quest for 1. And once during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, look at the top card of your deck. You may put it on either the top or the bottom of your deck. This is what I'm going to say about Dawson. I really don't like that he's uninkable, because I feel like his most natural place that he wants to be is with Oswald, in order to help you trigger your Oswald more consistently and get those items, drop them into play for free. This card being uninkable stings, because Oswald is also uninkable. Your Lucky Dime is uninkable. Yeah, we're entering a world where we're definitely going to go back to Fishbone Quill for sure. In my opinion, I think that that's what's coming. So yeah, Dawson, I like the card, and even if you're only getting this ability once per turn. You get to do this. Let's say you play Oswald, and then on let's say you're on turn 3. Before you ink, you play your Oswald, you play your ink. Dawson's on board. You trigger the Dawson first. You look, not an item, put it on bottom. Give your Oswald a chance. I really want Oswald to work. I think the card is in this weird space where whenever that card is good, it feels super strong. And then when it's bad, you just wonder why you're playing the card. Dawson helps to shore that up. I like the card. I want Dawson to be good. I think Dawson has... I think he has a lot of potential. All right. Tamatoa, the best character in Moana. 6 cost, inkable, 4/5, quest for 2. Good stats. When you play this character, return up to 2 item cards from your discard to your hand, and when this character quests, you may play an item for free. I don't know that this thing is going to be like a split with the 8 cost Tamatoa, what that number looks like. My initial impression is that this thing is strong enough to just replace Tamatoa. And maybe the 8 cost, one Tamatoa replacing the other. This card is crazy strong, and the best legendary in the set by a mile. This card is really good. This thing gets you immediate value from playing it. You're getting 2 items, and when he quests, you get to play 1 for free. Obviously, we are all thinking the exact same thing. Drop that lucky dime down, pay 2, gain the lore. This is truly the time where we're going to see, I think there's going to be a lot of experimenting in the blue-red and the blue-steel. And I think we're going to truly start to see things like the 6 cost Ariel that's uninkable. That's going to come to rise, and there's going to be a battle of who can keep the most items on board in order to make their Ariel quest for 5, and then their lucky dime is coming in for free, getting them 10 lore. Yeah, this is, the 4 cost bell that lets you ink an additional time on your turn, has a real possibility of coming back. Dime was fading pretty heavily out of the meta. Some decks were just not playing it. Some decks were playing only 1. I know my wife was playing only 1 in her red-blue list. You just don't often want to see the card, especially when you were playing into a field where Diggy Diggy Hole was so prominent and you needed to... because I played it, so that was the majority of her playtime. You really don't want to spend time playing a lucky dime when you need to be addressing the board. This card is so good. 4/5, yeah, is it gonna get Zeused off the board? Yeah, it can get Zeused off the board, it's true. But this does not change that this card does something the moment it hits play. And if you ready up your ink with this card in play, it's gonna be really tough to lose. So this card is really strong. This card it hits the board. Can you answer this card? If you don't, it is very likely that the game escapes you, unless you are just so far ahead on board and in lore and everything else. But this card is going to be that strong. The other Tamatoa feels, in a way, a lot like that, but this one is just for free. Getting to play your Sapphire coils, your popsicles, your forest spheres, your fishbone quills, anything of those things are free, you're still getting value. All right. Enough talking about Tamatoa. Let's move on to Kita. Okay, one more point about Tamatoa. Let's scroll down here. He has an amazing enchanted as well. This is one that I really hope to rip. This looks awesome. He has deserved an enchanted. He's very shiny. He's exactly as he would want it. So, but anyways, moving on. Let's go ahead and move on to Kita. This is a 4 cost inkable 3/3 quest for 1, has ward, and I think ward will be important in this set. You can exert her. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put 1 in the inkwell face down, and exert it, and the other on top of your deck. Man, I wish this card put the other one into your hand. This card is not as good as Grammatala. it has ward, and that is good, but you have to expose her to being clocked over the head and taken out in order to use her ability. Grandma does it when she hits the board. I don't think this is going to see play. Grandma's just a better card, and it's an uncommon. This is a really cool Kita. I just wish it did its ability on... If it did its ability on play, maybe it would be at least as good as Grandma. And then you could maybe do a split or something. But you have to exert it and expose it. I just don't like that. Okay. Oh... I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce this character's name. Toulouse? I don't know. There, I said I wasn't going to attempt it, and I did. 1 cost, inkable, 1/3, quest for 1. It's an Olaf in blue. We get it. That's great. They needed it. But yeah, I don't know that it's going to see any play. You got other things to be doing on 1. Marie. This is 2 cost, inkable, 1/2, quest for 2. Whenever this character quests, you may give another chosen character -2 strength this turn. This card is fine. This card is totally fine. Lets you challenge in more opportunistically. Open your opponents up to Sisu. Open your opponents up to a brawl. Open up the opportunity for your puppies, perhaps, to challenge in and be a little bit safer. Yeah, I don't know. This card's fine. I could, could see it maybe seeing a little bit of play, possibly. We have Pepper. This is a 3 cost, inkable, 2/2. Quest for 1. Whenever one of your puppy characters is banished, you may put that card into your inkwell face down and exerted. You know, there's I think that there is another card that lets you look at your inkwell and do stuff with it, and it's in the puppies. So yeah, you know what? I think that, I mean, again, if the puppy deck has any shot of being real, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be competitive, but if it is, on the off chance that this thing is, just annoying enough to give you the ability to just continue to put cards on the board over and over and over and over again, and you have to answer them, this card is going to be pretty critical to that, I think. Because then you can kind of bring them back with the, I can't remember what the other card is, but yeah, there is definitely a card that lets you look at your inkwell and grab puppies, so that is interesting. I like the synergy. This puppy synergy, overdue. Long overdue. Love to see it. Now it's time for Ravensburger to cash in and do the brooms. Give us the extra broom synergy. But it is great to see the puppies getting supported. They're adorable cards. I love dogs. So yeah, this is a decent card, especially for a common. It's a decent card. Moving on to Freckles. This is a 2 cost, inkable, 2/2. Quest for 1, and when you play this character, chosen opposing character gets -1 strength this turn. Yeah, it's a little bit of like a, I suppose like a combat trick. I don't know. It's a puppy. It's okay. Pongo's lifting him up. I don't know. It's cute, but I don't know. This maybe doesn't do... I mean, there's something when it comes into play, but I don't know. I'm not in love with this puppy, to be honest. I'm not in love with this one. All right, moving on to Honey Lemon. This is a 2 cost, inkable, 2/2, quest for 1. And whenever you play a Floodborn character, if you use Shift to play them, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. So you get to choose the characters. It doesn't even have to be the one that you shifted over. Well, that's just kind of interesting. It's a little bit of an interesting ability. She costs 2, and it's whenever you shift. So she's kind of a static effect that stays active while she's on the board. I don't think this card is going to see any play, even in the Hero Hamada decks, personally. That's obviously where the intention is. I don't think it's going to see any play, but I don't think it's going to see any play. That's my take. Anyways, moving on. Robin Hood, 3 for a 3/3. It's inkable. Quest for 1. It has support. And yeah, support hasn't seen any real play. I don't think that this is going to change that. Penny the Orphan. And you see, it's not Penny and then the orphan under here. This is just Penny the Orphan. They want you to know that she is an orphan, in fact. And I understand it's because the Amber card, the Amber cards have a card named Penny, but it feels a little bit of a low blow. She's already on the ground and they're kicking her. 2 cost, inkable, 2/1, quest for 2. While you have a hero character and play this character gains ward. This is really, really flavorful. Super cool. The hero protects Penny from danger. Super, super awesome. But the ward is what? It's fine, I guess. You're still got a quest with this character, and she's got 1 willpower. She's gonna get clobbered off the board regardless. So I don't know. The ward is just what to protect her from getting blasted by Cinderella, Belle. Just be protected from your character's actions, I suppose. But I don't think this card's gonna see. It's really, really cool, and the hero and giving her ward, super cool. Moving on, the Jebediah Farnsworth is a 4 cost inkable 3/3 quest for 1, has support. And when you play this character, chosen character gains resist 1 until the start of your next turn. Oh, the stats are fine. Giving resist 1, it's good. I like this card. The fact that he does something when he hits the board is super important. He can give himself resist 1. Maybe that's not the greatest idea, but if you're playing him into an empty board, he could survive a smash, for instance. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this card's fine. I think this card has potential to see play. Let's put him up here in the C tier. Baymax, rare, 5 cost, inkable, 3/5, support, quest for 1. When you play this character, put the top 4 cards of your deck, and you may reveal a Floodborn character card and put it into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. I don't know. You're playing the Floodborn deck. I think you just want to focus on playing the Floodborns. I don't know that you want to play this card, personally. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this tutoring for the... Or not tutoring. You're kind of looking at the top 4 like Ariel. But if you're doing your Ariel effect for your Floodborns, you have to be playing a pretty reasonable density of these cards. And then he's kind of diluting that too, right? I mean, he's a 3/5. His stats are fine for 5. He quests for 1. He has support. I don't know. He's so fringe. Like, he does something when he enters the board. Maybe he could be here. Maybe he's like top here. I don't know. We'll put him here. Moving on. Water has memory is a 1 cost uninkable action. Look at the top 4 cards of chosen player's deck, and then you put 1 on top of their deck and the rest on the bottom of their deck in any order. For yourself, this allows you to grab exactly what you want, and for your opponents, this can give them the worst card of the top 4. I don't know. Is this good? Maybe it's good. I struggle to think that this card is going to be particularly good. Think I would rather pay 1 and look at the top 2 cards, put 1 in my hand, put 1 on the bottom, personally. So I'm going to put Water as memory. I don't think it's a very good card. Love to be proven wrong on this one. And again, this is not from an ego like, oh, prove me wrong, I'm right. I would like to be wrong about this card. I would like to be, misevaluating this card, because I think it's cool. All is found. There's a 5 cost inkable Song. Put up to 2 cards from your discard into your inkwell face down and exerted. This card is good, and it's going to see play at somewhere, but it's going to see play. Baja Blast might play this. Put 2 cards from your discard, put them in your inkwell, trigger Muses, perhaps, bounce something. This is good, especially if you're playing it with Sapphire Coil. Yeah. I think this card is good. And not only is this card good, I like the enchanted for this card a lot. Reminds me a little bit of the DLC Let It Go promo, with the way that they kind of done this golden ratio stuff. This is a really pretty card. And I think it's a very good card. So let's go ahead and put, maybe this is a bit of a hot take. I think this card is A. I think this card is going to see some play for sure. Sapphire Coil. Oh, man. Maybe this needs to be in B. Maybe this is not as good as something like Scrooge. This is super tough. I'm going to put this in B, but I could be convinced to put this in A. Because that's my knee-jerk reaction. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on to Sapphire Quill. This is a 2-cost inkable item. During your turn, whenever a card is put in your inkwell, you may give a chosen character -2 strength this turn. Is it any secret that this card is insane? Yeah, this card is insane. Red Blue has to change some of their philosophy. They may not be able to ramp on 2, but this is still going to lead to them going Sapphire Quill on 2, Sisu on 3, blow up whatever you've played. Almost certainly. This is going to cause some interesting play patterns, and one in the red-blue mirror, it's going to be interesting to see how the dynamic changes between the player who, for instance, does ramp on turn 2 versus the player who plays Sapphire Coil on turn 2. How that plays out. Does the player that ramps, are they going to be significantly further ahead all the time? Or is a Sapphire Coil going to get them enough benefit that it ends up breaking somewhat even? Is a Sapphire Coil going to mitigate those things? I also truly believe that Fishbone Quill is going to come back into the meta, and so you could even do Sapphire Quill onto Fishbone Quill on 3, and you're a little bit of a turn behind, but you still are going to be ramping, and you're going to be able to use that ink right away, and you can ink anything. So yeah, I think that Sapphire Coil is crazy strong. I think that they were a little crazy on this card. I don't know that it's going to bust the meta open the entire time. I think initially this is going to be oppressive, and then either people will figure out a way to deal with it. They'll pack tons of item removal in their deck, which is, again, if you happen to pack a ton of item removal into your deck, that this is meta warping because it's causing people to play differently. Or this card just remains super strong. It will remain to be seen. But this card is really strong, and as you can see here, this is the most top heavy. We have 3 S tier cards in Sapphire. I think, if I remember correctly, we had this. I don't know that we've had any S tier cards in the other colors, and this color has them. So disproportionately so. Get your foils of this card. This is going to be a really awesome card. And then finally we have Baymax's Charging Station. This is a 3-cost inkable item. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, if you use Shift to play them, you may draw a card. Yeah, it's fine. I don't think you're going to play this card. Taking the time off to play this card doesn't seem very useful. So anyways, this is my overall thoughts on the list. I could see this being up here. I could see this maybe coming up here. I could see this maybe coming up here. But this probably stays down here until Oswald proves himself. I could see maybe this here, perhaps. So this is like floating between B and C for me, just because he's a little bit awkward. But I'm going to leave it where I put him initially. So Sapphire is the huge winner out of this set. Huge. But we have Steel and the dual ink cards to review still. And I'm really excited about doing those. So please check those out as they come out. Let me know, what did I get wrong here? Did I rate too many? I mean, I've rated a lot of cards low. I'm a competitive player. I love to play tournaments. I love to play just a competitive mindset. So I understand that TCGs have to make the vast majority of the cards they make have to be fairly underwhelming in order to keep the balance. You can't make everything busted because you bust your game, and then you have to spend a lot of time making underwhelming sets in order to fix the game. So it's better to have a handful of really good cards in each set in order to keep your game healthy. That being said, I don't know that this is going to be the healthiest of the meta. The meta that we just came out of, I thought was pretty good actually. This one is looking to be Sapphire heavy. So hopefully there's something out there in the rest of Archazia's island that we can look at that will give us some hope. But yeah, these are my thoughts. Let me know what you feel, and we'll see you in the next one.